GYN Corner. I'm a board certified obstetrician gynecologist in New York City, Midtown Manhattan, and I'm bringing to you all things health related for women. Thank you for joining me today at GYN Corner, and please check out the YouTube channel. It's also called GYN Corner, along with our podcast on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, and Apple iTunes. Is it? I think, yeah, Apple iTunes. It's Monday. I lied last week. I said I was going to place all of the different platforms on our Facebook and the YouTube, and of course I didn't get around to it, so I'm going to do it this week. We'll see if I'm telling the truth or if my nose is going to grow longer. Let's see. And please like, subscribe, follow, place comments. You get a heads up on the presentations when they're being presented, what the topics are. And then please give me some feedback. I need feedback about what you would like to hear, what you prefer hearing. I'm an OBGYN, so anything related to women I can speak on. So please give your feedback and your thoughts, and if you really like something, let me know. So let's see. Today I decided to speak on ADRENARCHE. Oh, and before I start that, I noticed when I looked at a few of my presentations, it looks like I'm looking down a lot sometimes. I'm looking down because we have a messaging system, so sometimes the assistants are sending me messages, and I'm responding to their messages or giving them instructions because we have office hours, so I try to slip these in between patients or before we get started, but I still have to respond to messages and questions, so that's what I'm looking down for. Sometimes I'm looking up, I'm looking out the window to see if it's raining or if it's bright and sunny. So today it is overcast here in New York City, so what can you do? It's September. Fall is trying to rear its ugly head. So let's see. Today I'm speaking about ADRENARCHE, and that's because last week I had a patient who brought her daughter, and her daughter is 11 years old, and the patient was questioning whether her daughter was delayed in her puberty milestones. So I had to review that with her, and I thought, oh, if one patient has a question, I'm sure other mothers out there may also have questions. So this patient was concerned because the grandmother was saying that the daughter should have already had XYZ as far as puberty goes, and this 11-year-old did not have any of those signs or symptoms. So I thought I would speak on ADRENARCHE. ADRENARCHE is the very first step. It's almost a prelude to puberty. So we know when kids are going through puberty because they get acne, or they get underarm hair or pubic hair, they get their menstrual cycle, they get moody, emotional, especially girls, unfortunately. So ADRENARCHE refers to the adrenal gland. So the very first organ that kicks off the puberty signs and symptoms are the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. They look like little snow caps or hats. And they produce a lot of the hormones that are not considered gynecological hormones. So they regulate our salts, mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids. So they help to regulate our salts and sugars, and also responsible for the stress hormones, fight or flight, and they are also predominantly responsible for producing a lot of the androgens. And androgens are what we always consider to be the male hormones. They're responsible for testosterone production. And testosterone is responsible for what we call secondary sex hair characteristics. So pubic hair, underarm hair, and for boys or for men, beards, facial hair. And for acne is predominantly due to testosterone. So ADRENARCHE is the very first step in puberty, or some experts consider it a pre-pubertal step, and it's responsible for androgen production and for the presence or the visualization of axillary hair, which is the underarm hair, and and pubic hair, genital hair, and acne. So, and for some people, the onset or the beginning of emotional irritability responses. So, adrenarche usually starts around 8 years old for girls, around 9 years old for boys. Boys are always about a year or two behind girls. So around 8 years old, most girls will start to have the hormone development for puberty, and that's the onset of the androgens. And the very first pubertal stage is when you start to see underarm and pubic hair. So the underarm and pubic hair will usually start about a year or two after those androgens have started to cause their effects. So adrenarche starts around 8 to 9, and then oftentimes between 9 and 11 you'll see underarm and pubic hair. For most girls, it will not just be adrenarche that starts the acne, but it will be the foundation of the adrenarche for acne, and then it will be the increase in the female hormones, which is what we think of female hormones, FSH, LH, and the E2, that will start the acne. So for most girls, the acne will come later. For boys, the acne will often come earlier because of the adrenarche. So adrenarche is the first step in puberty. We see the excess hair, or the onset of hair, and acne, and for some kids, emotional irritability. It's around 8 to 9. It peaks around 14 to 16 years old, and then it naters or tapers off around 18 to 19 years old for women. For boys, 20 to 23 years old or so. So if someone does not have underarm, I should just say girls, because I'm gynecologist, everyone's a she for me. So if a girl does not have underarm or any evidence of pubic hair by 10 to 12 years old, then we know that there's a slight delay potentially in the onset of puberty for her. Now, we don't get excited and worked up about it. We can give her up to 13, 14 years old if she doesn't have any underarm or pubic hair, and she has not started any of the other puberty milestones. But most girls will have the adrenarche start around 8 to 9, and they'll have evidence of that underarm, pubic hair, potentially acne around 10 to 12. Now, if a young girl starts to have pubic hair and she's younger than 8 years old, I have had a handful of times over the years someone bring their daughter to me who's 5 or 6, and she has, you can see the start of underarm hair or pubic hair, little downy hair, not coarse hair. We don't get excited. It's really not a medical condition. It's not a health condition. She may be starting adrenarche early if it develops into more coarse hair, and then we don't get excited and start doing an evaluation or a workup unless she starts to get other puberty signs, which would be breast development and, of course, a menstrual cycle. So adrenarche is a precursor or the first step in puberty. If it comes before 8 years old, it's not a health issue. We just monitor or watch the child. The only thing that some people may recommend doing is checking the adrenals. So by doing a blood test, DHEAS or dihydroepiandrosterone sulfate. That's done because on very rare occasions a child will have what we call a late onset or a late development of congenital adrenal hyperplasia, where adrenal glands are overproducing, and you can see the evidence of the overproduction by their hormones and then subsequently the symptoms for those hormones. So I hope that's been helpful on adrenarche, which is the first step or a pre-step for puberty. And then tomorrow I will speak on thelarche. So that's a cliffhanger. Thank you for joining me. This is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner, all things health related for women. Please like, subscribe, follow, give your input, tell me what topics you're interested in hearing about, as long as it's related to women. Doesn't matter the age. Young girls, I saw an 11-year-old last week. I've seen 5, 6, and 8-year-old girls. So it doesn't matter your age. Young girls, young women, teenagers, young women, middle-aged women, older women, 70s, 80s. I think currently my oldest patient I have, I think she's 82 or 83 or so, but it doesn't matter. Anything related for women, leave a message. Let me know if you have a topic you'd like to hear about. I love getting input because it makes life easier. I just talk about what people want to hear, not what I think they want to hear, or what I think they should hear. And then please follow on the YouTube page also. It's also called GYN Corner. Check out the podcast, GYN Corner. Have a great rest of your Monday. Bye.